Welcome back to Midwest Garage and the Work Truck Revival Project. I think this is part 9 of this project right now, and you'll notice that we have a front fender on this truck now. And you might notice that that fender looks like complete garbage, but let me explain myself here. And if you want to learn how to fix your vehicle, do budget restorations, troubleshoot equipment, and all sorts of other types of garage-related stuff, be sure to subscribe to Midwest Garage so you don't miss anything. All right, so at the end of the last installment, we got a new box for this rusted out one for really cheap. And we started doing body work on our driver's side fender. We got everything cut out, welded in, and started our filler. And this is what the finished product looked like. Now I know it's not perfect, but once again, this is a work truck revival, not a showroom restoration. And now you'll see that it has paint on it, and all this is a very thin layer of paint. What I'm trying to do with this is test the color and see if it's the right color and what I really want for the truck. So I just did a thin coat, and I do like this, so I'm gonna go out and buy more of it. And now, of course, I'm gonna sand all this down and redo the paintwork. But for a quick test run, this did just fine. Now, a little tip here for you guys also is that this is a really good idea to do, especially if you're doing two-tone vehicles, because the color of your primer can actually change the color of the paint. And since on this truck, I'm gonna be painting over some of the old paint after it's properly prepped, of course, and other parts will be painted over primer, I wanna make sure that those don't change the color of the base coat. And so doing this test paint job made me realize that I'm gonna wanna use gray primer in the center, but wherever the truck's supposed to be red, I should probably use a red primer so that way it stays more consistent with the original color of the truck. Now, as you'll remember when I started this teardown, I said that I was gonna start from the driver's side and work my way back. And that's because, as you'll see, you can't get the door off without removing the fender. And I need to remove the door to fix this, as well as the rockers, which you can fix the rockers with the door on, but seeing that this goes all the way to the back, and I have a ton of work to do inside this interior, it's best to take our fender and set it aside and not install it until the interior's done. Removing the doors on these old trucks is really easy. You just remove the bolts, and the best way to hold it up is to get a jack with a block of wood underneath to hold the weight of the door while you unbolt it. And just a quick tip when you're removing the doors on these things, you'll have 3 bolts on the bottom hinge and 3 bolts on the top hinge. But for one of the bolts, it actually comes in the opposite way and bolts into the door. So you'll have to remove part of your dash so you can get in through here and then unbolt it. These dashes are really easy to take apart, so it only adds about 2 minutes to the job. Next, removing the seat is just like removing any other seat. It should just be 4 bolts, 2 on each side. And once you pull the seat out, it's time to start your treasure hunt. Now, one of my favorite things to do with an old truck is tear the interior out of it. I don't really know why, but it's always really cool to see what you find underneath the seats, behind the seat, under the floor mats. You never know what you're gonna find, and that's just really cool to me. No way. I swear I did not know this was back here. Nice. That is awesome. I bet it works too. All right, let's pull this seat out and see what else we can find. All right, so what did we find during our treasure hunt? We have an old Minnesota phone book, some Gas X from 2004, I kid you not. We got some paper towels, random glove, a mirror, a mini air compressor, that's pretty cool, fire extinguisher. You already saw the Milwaukee Sawzall. If I knew that was back here, I would have been using that a long time ago. Got a fly swatter, fire extinguisher like I said, 2 fire extinguishers. So yeah, let's get this all cleaned up and we'll go from there. Now underneath all this junk, the floor liner just tears apart. It's all rotted and needs replaced anyway, so I'm just going to cut it out so I can get a good look at the condition of the sheet metal and the floor pans. Alright, so before we check out the condition of the floor, this is what we found inside the cab of our project truck. We have a fairly new air compressor, so that's pretty cool. Bet that works just fine. $2.15, 19 toll bridge tokens, a whole bunch of new dome light bulbs, a file, a crescent wrench, which still works, you can never have too many crescent wrenches, 6 Sawzall blades, 3 pens, 2 road flares, those will be sweet during the bonfire, 3 fire extinguishers to put out said road flares at the bonfire, a Milwaukee Sawzall, which this thing is awesome, and about 3/4 a quart of Myers hydraulic snowplow fluid. So not a bad haul at all. And that $2.15 that we found is definitely going to help us stay on budget with this build. Well, I'm actually really surprised. This is a new floor pan. You can see where it was welded in. Well, I hope it was welded anyway. And then you can see where the new seam sealer goes, right along there. And this is really solid. However, around the kick plate here, it is rusty, so we will have to replace that. Surprisingly, this isn't as bad as I was expecting. Also surprisingly, this is also a new floor pan. You can see that it rusted out again. So they just threw another sheet of metal on this to cover up this gaping hole. And there's literally nothing left to this. Good thing we have all of these parts brand new sitting here in the garage with us. But I'm surprised that this was actually replaced at one time already. You can see where it was just tacked in along here. But it rusted out again, and that's okay. I have a new cab corner for this side, if I need it. And then I have another cab corner for the other side, which definitely needs it. I have an inner and an outer rocker panel. I have my inner kick plate, which is rusted out there, as well as right here. And the new one goes up inside before your rockers and also connects your inner wheel well. So that'll be good and solid. I have a new floorboard, of course, as well as a floor mount. As well as a new cab mount. And lastly, I have new shifter boots and retainer rings for both the transmission and the transfer case. So the only thing we're really missing is a kick plate for the passenger side and possibly more cab mounts. Cab mounts are a little bit expensive, so I didn't want to get more than I needed before fully diagnosing what I needed. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up really well and get rid of some of this rust that I can by hand so that I can get a better idea of exactly what I'm dealing with when it comes to work. Don't click off the video just yet. Stick around a little bit to see how it turned out after a good cleaning. Now this is just the intro to the interior work. Make sure you stick around for future episodes where we're going to be replacing floor pans, repairing the door panels, and overall just rejuvenating the cab of this truck a little bit. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you were surprised by how much stuff I found in the cab and surprised by how much work is needed in here, please comment down below. Let me know if you've had to deal with something like this before and how you went about fixing it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next part of the Work Truck Revival project.